My girlfriend laughed. You're not my partner, just my sponsor. I said, sponsorship canceled. I cut every payment in my name, split the bills, and took another woman to dinner. When she saw her unpaid bills and that restaurant charge, I, 31, male, had been paying for everything for over a year. Rent, groceries, utilities, dinners out. Every single dollar flowed from my account and into our shared life. I never complained. I never asked for a thank you. I just did it, quietly, because I believed that was what love looked like. One Tuesday evening, after 10 hours at my office, I walked through the door of our apartment. Dorothy was on the couch, scrolling her phone, a glass of wine I had bought sitting on the coffee table in front of her. I sat down beside her. I was exhausted. I think of myself as your partner in this, I said. We are a team, right? She glanced at me and laughed. Not a warm laugh. A cold, amused laugh. The kind you give someone who has just said something unintentionally funny. Partner, she repeated. Andrew, you are not my partner. You are my sponsor. The room went quiet. She went back to her phone, completely unbothered, as if she had just told me the weather. I sat there for 5 seconds. Then I smiled. A calm, clear smile. Sponsorship canceled, I said. She did not look up. But by the following Friday, her entire world would begin to crack open, and she would not see it coming. Dorothy and I had been together for 14 months when that conversation happened. We met through a mutual friend at a housewarming party in March of the previous year. She was 28, sharp-tongued, and confident in a way that drew me in immediately. I was 29, recently promoted to senior software engineer at a mid-sized tech firm downtown. I had a stable salary, a clean apartment, and a life that was running smoothly. The first few weeks were good, genuinely good. She laughed at my jokes. We cooked dinner together on Friday nights. She had this easy energy, like nothing in the world could bother her. I found that attractive. By the second month, she had moved in. Not formally. Not with a conversation about splitting costs or signing anything. It happened the way water fills a glass, slowly and without announcement. Her clothes filled half the closet. Her name appeared on my grocery list. The financial arrangement developed the same way. I paid the rent because the lease was in my name. I paid the groceries because I did the shopping. I paid the utilities because they were already set up under my account. Dorothy worked part-time at a local bookstore, 20 hours a week, and made just enough for her personal expenses. She told me early on that she was saving to launch an online boutique selling handmade jewelry. She had a vision board on the bedroom wall. She talked about it often enough that I believed her. I told her I would cover the household expenses until she got on her feet. By month 6, nothing had changed. No website, no inventory, no business plan. But I did not push. I told myself people take time. By month 10, I had started to notice things. The way she ordered the most expensive item on every menu without glancing at the price. The way she dropped hints about vacations, as if travel just appeared free of charge. The way she never once offered to help with a shared bill. Not out of rudeness. Out of a genuine belief that it was not her responsibility. I kept paying. I kept smiling. I kept telling myself it was fine. But somewhere around month 12, a small, quiet thought started sitting in the back of my mind. A thought I did not give voice to. Not yet. The thought was this. She knows exactly what she is doing. Looking back, the signs had been there from the start. I just refused to see them. There was a conversation in month 4 that I dismissed at the time, but remembered later with perfect clarity. We were at a restaurant called Bellini's, her favorite place. Saturday evening, dim lighting, cloth napkins. I had chosen it because she had mentioned it twice that week. The bill came to $142. I handed over my card without hesitation. See, Dorothy said, leaning back with a small smile. This is why you are my favorite person. I took it as affection, but the word favorite stayed with me. Not because it was sweet, because of the way she said it. The way someone says favorite when they are comparing options. Like I was the best available choice, and she was pleased with her selection. In month 7, her mother called and spent 40 minutes on speakerphone praising how lucky Dorothy was to have a man who takes care of everything. Dorothy did not correct her. She just smiled and said, I know, Mom. I know. After the call, I asked Dorothy if she wanted to start splitting household costs, just to keep things fair. She looked at me with genuine surprise. Why? She asked. You have a good income. You can handle it. That is not the point, I said. Then what is the point? She asked. I did not have an answer ready, so I dropped it. I should not have. By month 11, I had started tracking our finances. Not out of anger. Out of a quiet need to see the full picture. I opened a spreadsheet one evening while Dorothy was in the shower and pulled up my bank statements going back to the beginning. Rent, 14 months at $2,100 a month. All in my name. Groceries, an average of $650 a month. All on my card. Utilities, about $310 a month combined. Dining out, 3 to 4 times a week, $60 to $90 per outing. All paid by me. When I added it up, the total stopped me cold. Over 14 months, I had spent just over $41,000 on our shared life. Dorothy's total contribution, $0. Not a single cent. I closed the spreadsheet. I sat in the quiet of the living room while the shower ran. I did not feel anger. I felt something colder than anger. I felt like I was seeing the truth clearly for the first time, something that had been sitting right in front of me for over a year. I thought about every moment I had let slide. Every time she ordered without looking at the price. Every time she mentioned wanting something, and I just bought it without a second thought. Every time I told myself it was fine, it was love, it was what partners do. None of it had been partnership. It had been sponsorship. And she had known that the entire time. But I still did not say anything. Not until that Tuesday night. The Tuesday night conversation was not a confrontation. It did not feel like one in the moment. It felt almost casual, the way a single sentence can land without weight at first, and then settle into you hours later like a stone dropping into still water. I had come home exhausted. A production server had crashed at 2 p.m., and I spent the rest of the day trying to restore it. By 8:45, my brain was running on caffeine and frustration. Dorothy was where I expected her to be, on the couch, phone in hand, a glass of red wine on the coffee table, the bottle half empty beside it. The dishes from dinner were still unwashed in the sink. I sat down next to her. I was too tired to censor myself. I feel like a real partner in this, I said. Like we are building something together. She laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was worse than that. It was a laugh that said she genuinely found the idea amusing. Like I had told her the sky was green, and she was entertained by how wrong I was. Andrew, she said, still looking at her phone. You are not my partner. You are my sponsor. 5 words. Delivered casually, without malice, without a second thought. She said it the way someone states a fact they have known for a long time. I did not react. I did not flinch. I did not say, what does that mean? I just sat there, completely still, and let the words land exactly where they were supposed to. And they did land. They landed hard. Here is what Dorothy did not know about me. In 14 months of quiet patience, I had developed a specific skill. When a production system crashes, you do not scream at the screen. You observe. You analyze. You act with precision. I had been doing that every day at work. And now, without even planning it, I applied the same discipline to my personal life. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I smiled. Sponsorship canceled, I said. She glanced at me briefly, then went back to scrolling. She did not take it seriously. In her mind, I was the same person I had always been. The one who just paid and moved on without complaint. She was wrong. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat at my desk with my laptop open. I mapped out every shared account, every auto pay, every subscription, every bill with my name or card attached. Rent, utilities, the shared credit card, the grocery app, all of it laid out in front of me. Then I built a plan, not an emotional plan, a precise, calculated plan, step by step, date by date, amount by amount. I documented everything in a time-stamped file and saved it. By Thursday morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do. By Friday evening, Dorothy would feel every consequence. Update 1. I moved fast, but not recklessly. Speed without chaos. On Wednesday morning, before Dorothy woke up, I logged into the shared credit card account and changed the default payment method. Auto payments would no longer pull from my personal checking. The card would still process transactions, but any charges would sit unpaid until someone addressed them manually. Next, I contacted the landlord. The lease was in my name alone. I sent a professional email that morning, informing him that starting with the next billing cycle, rent would need to be paid in 2 separate installments. One from me, one from Dorothy. I included her email on the thread so there would be no confusion. I did the same with utilities. Electric, gas, internet. I called each provider and requested that a secondary payment contact be added. Where that was not possible, I sent Dorothy a Venmo request for her share of each bill. Every request was time-stamped, included the amount, the due date, and the provider name. Clear, documented, undeniable. On Wednesday evening, I sat her down at the kitchen table. I meant what I said the other night. I told her. Sponsorship canceled. Starting now, we split everything down the middle. She looked at me like I had spoken a language she did not recognize. What are you talking about? She asked. Every shared expense, I said. Rent, utilities, groceries. I am paying my half. You pay yours. Andrew, that is ridiculous, she said. I barely make anything at the bookstore. I know, I said, which is why I have been covering everything for 14 months. But you told me I am not your partner. I am your sponsor. That arrangement is canceled. Her face moved through confusion, disbelief, and then something close to fear. You are being dramatic, she said. I am being precise, I said. I handed her a printed sheet. A clean breakdown of every shared expense, split exactly in half, with due dates. Rent, $1,050 each. Utilities, $155 each. Groceries. I had already switched to shopping for myself only. She looked at the sheet, then at me, then back at the sheet. This is not funny, she said. It was never meant to be, I said. She left the kitchen without another word. I stayed at the table, drinking water, listening to the quiet. For the first time in over a year, the apartment felt like it belonged to me again. I checked my phone. 3 Venmo requests had already been sent and delivered. The landlord had confirmed receipt of my email. The utility companies had logged the payment arrangement changes. Everything was documented. Everything was in motion. There was no way to undo any of it quietly. Update 2. I had one more move planned. And this one was not about money. On Thursday afternoon, I texted a woman I had met 2 weeks earlier through a friend. Her name was Helen, 29, a structural engineer. We had exchanged numbers casually at a gathering. I had liked the way she carried herself, confident without being loud. I texted her at 3:15 p.m. Are you free for dinner tomorrow night? I know a place called Bellini's. Good food, relaxed atmosphere. She replied within 20 minutes. Sounds perfect. What time? I said 7:30. Bellini's mattered for one specific reason. It was Dorothy's favorite restaurant. The place she had taken me to early in our relationship. The place where she always ordered the lobster risotto and the $82 bottle of Pinot Noir. She had mentioned wanting to go back there just 3 days before the Tuesday night conversation. It was her place, in her mind. A symbol of the comfortable life I had been quietly funding. Dorothy and I still shared a credit card. She had asked me to add her as an authorized user 8 months into the relationship, and I had done it without question. The card showed all transactions to both cardholders. Every charge, every merchant, fully visible. On Friday evening, I picked Helen up at 7:15. We were seated at a quiet corner table near the back of Bellini's. The lighting was warm. Helen was easy to talk to. She asked about my work and actually listened. She told me about a bridge project that had been challenging her team. The evening was calm and completely normal. We ordered. I chose the steak. She chose the salmon. We split a bottle of wine. Helen talked about a bridge project that had been challenging her team for weeks. I told her about the server migration I was leading at work. The conversation moved easily from topic to topic, without any effort on either side. The bill came to $118. I put it on the shared card. I want to be clear. I did not do this out of spite. Dorothy had defined the terms. She had called me a sponsor. I had canceled the sponsorship. The shared card was doing exactly what shared cards do. It was recording transactions and making them visible to both people on the account. At 9:47 p.m., while we were finishing dessert, my phone buzzed. A text from Dorothy. What is this charge at Bellini's? I read it. I set my phone face down on the table. I did not reply. Update 3. Saturday morning arrived with noise. Dorothy had called me 4 times between 10 p.m. Friday and 7 a.m. Saturday. I had not answered any of them. By the time I walked back in at 8:30, she was at the kitchen table, phone in hand, her expression somewhere between furious and desperate. Who were you with last night? She demanded. A friend, I said. At Bellini's? Our restaurant. It is a restaurant, Dorothy. It does not belong to us. She stood up. You did this on purpose. You took someone else there to hurt me. I set my keys on the counter. I poured a glass of water. I took a slow sip before responding. I took someone to dinner at a public restaurant. That is not an attack. While we are still together? She asked. I looked at her directly. For the first time in 14 months, I did not soften my expression to make her comfortable. Are we? I asked. The question hung between us. She shifted tactics. You cannot just cut off payments like this. I have bills due. The landlord emailed me. The electric company called. Yes, I said. They did. Because those bills are due. And now they are your responsibility. I cannot pay $1,050, Andrew. Then you need to figure that out, I said. The same way I figured out everything for the past 14 months. She tried guilt. She tried tears. She told me I was being cold, that this was not like me. None of it moved me. I had spent over $41,000 on a life that she had openly admitted was funded by my sponsorship. The sponsorship was canceled. Every Venmo request was time-stamped and documented in her inbox. Every bill notification was in her email. On Saturday afternoon, her mother called me directly. 5 minutes of lecturing about how heartless I was being. With all due respect, I said, this is a private matter between Dorothy and me. Her mother hung up. By Sunday evening, Dorothy had sent 11 texts. Some angry, some pleading. One, at 2:14 a.m., read, I am sorry I said that. Please, can we go back to how things were? I read it. I set my phone down. Going back was never an option. I had seen the full picture. I had heard her own words, spoken casually on a Tuesday night. Words she did not think twice about saying. I had made my decision in a moment of complete clarity. Not from anger, from understanding. The sponsorship was canceled. The receipts were clear. And no amount of guilt or tears could change what the numbers already told me. The fallout happened faster than Dorothy expected. Faster than most people would expect when the financial ground beneath them suddenly disappears. Within the first week, 3 bills went unpaid. The electric company sent a warning notice. The internet provider flagged the account for a missed payment. The shared credit card statement arrived at the end of that week, and it told the entire story on its own. 14 months of charges, almost all initiated by me or running through my payment setup. Restaurants, groceries, online shopping, a gym membership she had added without telling me, a subscription box service I had not known about until I saw it listed. When I went through the full statement, the total climbed higher than my original estimate. $43,612. Dorothy's charges on that same card over 14 months, $2,040. Almost all of it online retail. I did not confront her with this. The statement was visible to both cardholders. It spoke for itself. And when she saw the full 14-month history laid out in one document, there was no version of the story she could tell herself that made the numbers disappear. By the end of the second week, Dorothy had stopped coming home. She stayed at her mother's place, claiming she needed space. The real reason was simpler. Without my sponsorship, the apartment was just a space with bills she could not pay. Every evening she had spent on that couch, scrolling her phone with a glass of wine, had been paid for by someone she had openly admitted was not her partner. 2 of her close friends reached out to me separately. Both were surprised by what had come to light. Apparently, Dorothy had talked about our arrangement with them before. Not with shame, with pride. One of them, a woman named Olivia, sent me a screenshot of a group chat from 4 months earlier. Dorothy had written, Andrew pays for everything. I do not have to think about a single bill. Olivia added, I always thought that was strange. Now I understand why she never wanted it to change. I thanked Olivia and saved the screenshot. By the 3rd week, Dorothy's bookstore manager told me she had not shown up for 3 shifts in a row. Her hours had already been cut before any of this happened. Without my payments covering her daily life, that small income suddenly mattered far more than it ever had. But she was not showing up to earn it. I closed my end of the shared credit card. Any remaining balance was now entirely in Dorothy's name. $4,322. She called me on a Thursday evening. I answered. Andrew, she said. Her voice was stripped of everything. The confidence, the amusement, all of it gone. I have nowhere to go, she said. You have your mother's house, I said. She says I need to figure this out on my own. I paused. Then I said, that sounds like good advice. Silence. Then the call ended. 3 weeks after the Tuesday night conversation, I sat in my apartment on a Sunday afternoon. The place was quieter than it had been in over a year. No wine glasses on the coffee table. No shoes by the door. No half-finished conversations that led nowhere. Just silence. And for the first time in 14 months, it felt right. I had spent the previous days tying up loose ends. The lease was still in my name, but I had started looking at a new place. Something smaller. Something entirely mine. The shared accounts were closed. Every auto pay was routed to my personal card. My finances were completely under my control for the first time in over a year. I thought about Dorothy sometimes during those quiet days. Not with anger. Not with regret. I thought about her the way you think about a lesson you finally learned after ignoring it for far too long. She had told me the truth that Tuesday night. She had not meant it as an insult. She had meant it as a statement of fact. And in doing so, she had given me the one thing I needed to see clearly. I was not her partner. I was her sponsor. And sponsors get to decide when the funding stops. Helen and I had dinner the following week. A small Italian place near the waterfront. The food was good. The conversation was better. She asked about my life, and I told her honestly. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she nodded. Good, she said. You deserve someone who sees you as a partner, not a wallet. I smiled at that. 2 months later, I signed a lease on a new apartment. Smaller, quieter, and entirely mine. The rent was reasonable. Every bill was in my name, and every bill was for my life alone. No invisible subsidies flowing out of my account. No one else benefiting from what I worked for without contributing anything in return. On the day I moved in, I sat on the floor of the empty living room with takeout and a cold beer. The apartment was bare. Just walls and windows and a fresh start. My phone buzzed once. A text from an unknown number. Andrew, it is Dorothy. I know you do not want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I understand now. What I said was wrong. I am sorry. I read the message. I set my phone down. Then I picked up my beer and looked out the window at the city skyline, golden in the late afternoon light. Some people wait years for an apology, but by the time it arrives, it is usually too late. Not because you are bitter, because you have already moved on. You have already built something better. You have already learned that the most powerful thing you can do is not fight. It is stop funding someone else's comfort at the expense of your own. I had canceled the sponsorship, and in doing so, I had finally sponsored myself. A few final details for anyone who followed this closely. The shared credit card balance remaining in Dorothy's name after I closed my end was $4,322. I did not pay a single cent of it. That was her debt from her charges. She dealt with it on her own. Dorothy and I have not spoken since that text message. I did not reply to it. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. There was nothing left to say that the numbers had not already said. Helen and I are still seeing each other. It is early, and I am not rushing anything. But the way this feels compared to the previous relationship tells me everything I need to know. And Bellini's? I went back once, about a month after everything ended. Just by myself. I sat at a small table near the window and ordered the steak. No shared card. No sponsor. No one expecting me to cover their half. Just me. A good meal. And the quiet satisfaction of paying for exactly one person's dinner. My own.